Man, listen, man, give this man a round of applause. I want to thank him personally, Heather B, because when I go home, I typically I wouldn't listen to a lot of music because kind of music we would play here. I would be filled enough.
Yeah,
on a
you
daily
had your full.
basis.
You had
I
your
had my full.
Yeah,
and I've always been big since King Tech and I started the Wake Up Show on discovering new artists, new sounds, right? And we would someone I was going out with, Cece, I'll give her credit. At the time, used to wake me up to these Soulection mixes.
Okay.
Every single day, and I would say, and I thought it was her at first, and I was like, yo, where are you getting these mixes from? Mm-hmm. And then she explained to me who it was and started taking me to Soulection parties, and I realized that, damn it, when I first came to New York, this is the vibe I wanted to experience. Mm-hmm. I hadn't experienced that quite yet. I hadn't experienced a vibe that just really was just ran parallel to my spirit and my heart, and the energy that was created by the curation that Soulection would provide on Apple Music, as well as just live. What you heard on Apple Music 1 was even better when you came to see them live, because you saw the people react, and they created a whole tribal feel, Heather B. And some of the people I heard first through Soulection were Daniel Caesar. Get that a round of applause. I became friends with Kaytranada, Brent Faiyaz, Bryson Tiller. We've had Bryson on the show, Masego, who's oh my gosh, Smino, all of these different people. I heard first through Soulection. Yeah. I heard curated in a proper way through Soulection, and then Ami Piano was something I heard when I went to Africa, and these folks were already up on it. And so I wanted to welcome the one and only one of the founders of Soulection with us, if not the most important primary piece of Soulection. I wanted to welcome him to the show. Give it up for the one and only Joe Kay. Welcome.
Joe Kay!
He got the new EP, Tracy G. It's called It's Not Now, Then When. It's dropping
That's
April
right.
4th. He got a couple of tracks, beautiful artists on it. And the thing that he does is he does it different. Joe Kay, welcome to the show, man.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you for having me, man. Come on, this is legendary. I actually grew up listening to you when the show was syndicated in L.A., Power 106.
Yeah.
I was born in 89, so I was young but old enough to appreciate. And so I used to go to Power 106. My uncle used to take me there, and I think that was the early origins of me. It was radio first before DJing. I always wanted to be on air, so that's when my early stories really began. Is the light bulb hit, hearing wake up in the morning and just going to school and just hearing the show. So it's a full circle.
Full circle thing.
Yeah.
So you was listening to Sway and Tech World famous Wake Up Show. You hear that, Heather B?
I love it.
Nah, but it's something about music, man, that bonds people together, right? And in a certain way you curate music creates a vibration, right? And so you find like-minded people in spaces, like if you go to Soulection, when a Soulection party, I was seeing a lot of people that I didn't know, but that I liked how they looked. I liked how they spoke. I liked how they, congregated. It's just, you created a whole beautiful ecosystem with this, right? Where did the idea of Soulection come from?
The idea really stemmed probably 2009 or so. I had already been networking and popping out to shows. I already knew what I wanted to do. I just needed a platform. At the time, I was in community college, right? And I just knew that I needed to get to a university to have a show on the university station. That was always the goal. Like I said, I wanted to do radio. And so I had already been playing this music. I played a lot of beats. Growing up here in L.A., going to like Low End Theory and places where I was hearing Flying Lotus and Madlib and a lot of producers, right? Because I've always been connected to the producers first. As once I got old enough to understand writers and the difference from like, okay, we see the faces, we see the music videos, but who's behind the beats, right? And so when I was seeing Timbaland, knowing that he was making the beats, but still the face with Missy and Aaliyah, and then obviously the Neptunes, and seeing how prominent and important their sound was. And then learning about Dilla and realizing that Dilla was behind a lot of my favorite neo soul music and just hip hop and R&B music. Once I started to realize, he was he was connected to the Umar and Tribe, right? And then learning Common and Erykah Badu, who was always played in the house. that's really what the light set off, right? And so when I didn't get a call back from, the Stones Throw or different people that I was applying to, fresh out of high school.
Stones Throw label? The label?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was trying to be an intern and just trying to get my foot in the door. I realized the only way I can show people proof of concept is by starting my own thing.
Yeah.
And so that's how the foundation of it, right? And so 2011 is when I started it.
Yeah.
When I transferred to Long Beach State. Once I got in that first week, I already had the show, and that was the first episode of Soulection Radio. But it was already 3 to 4 years of foundation of, playing people's music.
Yeah.
I started doing like mixes and podcast. Like I did my own podcast. Within that first year that I started my podcast in 2008, I was able to get like 30,000 subscribers. And that was just using Facebook or MySpace and those two platforms and SoundCloud and just word of mouth. And then that's when I transferred it and I changed the name. I rebranded. So I used that infrastructure, the network that I had from those 3 to 4 years, it was like a development period.
Wow.
And then once we got ready with Soulection, so 14 years on paper, it's really been about 18 to 20 years.
20.
Yeah, so I've been doing this for a minute. People don't realize if they just started following Soulection.
What was it called before? What did you call it before Soulection?
It was called Ill Vibes.
Ill Vibes.
Yeah, that was the thing. But the word vibes and ill, it was cool, but I'm like, we need something a bit, a little bit more balanced and more grown, not so cliche. And so we rebranded, and it took some years, but it happened right on time. And yeah, like I said, the story here is it's a long-term play, and it's a consistency thing for me. And if people are just finding out about myself or us, people see the reels and the shows and the sold out things and all these moments, but it's been a journey.
Yeah.
And it's just been a consistent thing of just passion and trial and error.
It was amazing for me because you didn't have like a lot of corporate and backing and and the names of the artists that you were breaking at that time weren't Snow Allegra and folks like that weren't huge names,
Right.
And you were breaking artists in my opinion, and I believe when did you start doing YouTube?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
you brought up the hitters, right? And and when I speak about Soulection and artists that we've been early on. Obviously, these artists did the work, so I'm never here to take the credibility of like I'm the first one, or if it wasn't for Soulection X, Y, and Z. No, because the people got to do the work, right? And so all these artists put themselves in position. All I did was recognize I've always been, I've always had a gift of being 2 to 5 years early on artists, right? So we always play it. I found a lot of these artists when they had 1,500 followers, 500 followers, or under 10,000, right? And DSPs weren't even a thing for some of these people, for us coming up. So it was really just just knowing good music, the blogs. It was just being at the right place at the right time. So I am glad that you did bring up Snow Allegra,
Yep.
Daniel Caesar, Bryson Tiller, Brent Faiyaz. We also Sir, even people like Goldlink, right? Goldlink was one of the first people to rap over like a Kaytranada style beat. Kaytranada comes from the same community and ethos. We all came up through SoundCloud and through this beat community, right? And so then you think about Smino, Monty Booker, kind of being like the Timbaland of Smee and Raven Lenae. Raven Lenae's having a moment now, right? And so super early on all these artists, it's almost like stocks, like you find the next Teslas and Apples very early. Some hit, some don't, but you kind of just put my job is just to put people on like, hey, this is the music that I love. It's not about how many followers you have. It's just about the music, right?
Wow.
And so I've always enjoyed finding people that are unknown, because the people that are already known, they're already graduated.
Yeah.
They're good.
Word.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can we help the people that aren't known and put them in a platform and just get them recognized where people are buying their merch, supporting the shows and things like that.
That's incredible, man. And I'm glad you mentioned that you listen to Sway and Tech, because that means I could be a part of the legacy, Heather.
You know what?
You are.
Soulection Sway, baby.
Yourself in.
Yeah.
You know what else to me, and thank you for coming here today, because your story to me is so interesting, but I cannot get my mind off of your uncle who took you to the radio station.
Oh, yeah.
Because don't think people realize sometimes as a kid and being in different places and hey, I'm going to my dad's job or my mom's job or aunt or uncle. You get a spark. Like something can happen with these experiences. And maybe you walked into this radio station and saw all these buttons like, kids do when they go into the studio and you see the lights and buttons. What was it for you that made you say, yeah, I want to get on radio? Because you had to be young, like super young when he took you that day. And why did you go with him that day?
Yeah, so he worked at Universal, and he
Who's your uncle, bro?
Nerve One.
Nerve
Yeah,
One is your uncle?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. And I didn't know that. Obviously, we didn't know that. But something about the way you said it,
He's OG.
hit me in my spirit. So, yeah.
That's how it started is, he knew that he would introduce me to a lot of good music. My whole family, no one played instruments, no one was a producer, artist, no one was sang, but there was always good music in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was just in sports, and really locked in with school and sports. My dad had me, just really on a great routine. And when I went to my mom's side, my Nerve was the one that introduced me into that side. And so, yeah, he's just like, hey, do you want to come with me? At the time, he had all the press, the promo records, the 12 inches and singles for different artists. So, his job was also when artists were in town. Like, I remember when Cash Money was coming up, he was responsible for taking, like Wayne and
Wow.
and all them around, right? And so, like Manny Fresh. And so he would tell me about these stories when 50 Cent was coming up. He just had all the singles on vinyl, so he would go around to all the radio stations and drop off the records for the station and the DJs and the hosts, as well as going to all the local clubs and venues and then dropping them off for the DJs, right? Because at the time everyone was on wax. So yeah, I think just being introduced to that, you know what I mean? And that's how I met the Beat Junkies as well early on, like J-Rock.
J-Rock,
Wow.
that's my guy, man.
J-Rock,
Yeah.
Mr. Chalk, all them, Red. And so
Rapmatic, come on.
it's all been part of the DNA. And, it took some years. So when I hit high school and I started to grow up and develop, that's when I realized. So when I was on, downloading music and making, I was always making the mix CDs for all my friends and for all the kickbacks. And I was just always that guy that had the exclusive music. You know what I mean? Things that I was finding on my own. I used to listen to 92.3 and 100.3, right? And I remember PJ Butter. His whole thing was
PJ Butter. My
his whole thing.
His name and
Yeah.
PJ was known, at a certain point. He was like playing some unreleased Bobby Valentino. He was dropping some stuff on his blog, on his website, and I was like, this is a crazy feeling. So, moral of the story is, I've always gotten a kick, and I've always just felt more gratitude in having the unreleased music and then putting people on to things that they don't know.
No.
Yeah.
That's when I knew that was for me, and hosting and presenting. It wasn't so much about, oh, look at me, but it was more about the feeling of, oh, you guys don't know about this artist or this song. Let me put you on, and I'm going to let you do what you want to do with it. But you're going to love this music. I know you are. And let me just educate you, and I got more of a gratitude through that, and that's always been the blessing. So having untapped music, knowing about things really early was just the God blessing that I was given.
Amen.
I want to thank you because you're upholding the tremendous tradition that has kept parts of our culture pure. Right, that didn't have the corporate infiltration that changes a DJ's mind.
Yeah.
Right, and the people you're naming, from the Beat Junkies to PJ Butter, all these people.
Your uncle.
Your uncle, Nerve One, Eric
I remember Lala.
Lala was on the
Big
beat.
Boy.
Yeah, Big Boy, right? Garth Trinidad, folks. One of the original guys, right? We all came up together, and it's almost like, we're handing the baton to you, and then you took it into a whole new age. And when I first started listening to you, I couldn't believe what I was hearing, because it was at a time where the industry was just so infiltrated. People only played 10 artists,
Right.
Whatever made you, whoever was popular made you popular, and that's what people played. And so when CeCe was playing me your mixes, I was like, who is this? And then and I went to some parties. I feel like y'all used to do parties in the museum, right?
Oh yeah, Brooklyn Museum.
Brooklyn Museum.
First Saturday, baby.
Yeah, and I went to the parties and I thought I was in, a paradise, bro. Like, cause it was like, it was so, it talked to my spirit, and that's what I feel like music should do. And giving artists a opportunity is what DJs should do. And now you're producing too.
Yeah, right now, my first project, if not now, then when. More on the executive producer role, right?
Okay.
And more about bringing all. So I'm so glad you brought up these artists that we all know. And the thing is, people may not know about Soulection, but it's kind of like how I felt about when we talked about Dilla earlier. Like, okay, he was part of this record, right, with Janet Jackson. You know what I mean? Or he was a part of this Tribe record, or he was a part of this Erykah Badu record that I didn't know. It's kind of the same thing with Soulection, where you may not know everything about it or about me, but then you realize some of the production or some of the affiliation with some of the artists that we all love today. There was early ties, either the producers that came out of Soulection, right? If you think about Brent Faiyaz, right, the Saunders sound, that's D-Pat and I2, a lot of the main core production behind Brent Faiyaz, right? And you think about Sango and Jay Lewis, they had early ties to Trap Soul, and right, and then again we talk about Gold Link and a lot of these people. So there's ties there, right? So pretty much this project, if not now then when, is essentially me pretty much saying with the artists that are on here now, I'm pretty much forecasting these are the artists that I believe in and that are here right now and also to come. And it's no different from, imagine if I had put this project out in 2015 or 2017 and I had Sir, Snow, Daniel Caesar, Brent Faiyaz, Masego, right, and more, and Bryson all on one project. That's essentially what I'm doing now.
I get it.
So it's right on time, and it's pretty much putting these artists at the forefront and saying, hey, I'm going to bring these people into the room, and, I have someone like a D-Mile, right? D-Mile, legendary in a sense of he's the biggest R&B producer in the world right now, in my opinion, and just on numbers, on the charts, from Bruno, Silk Sonic, Victoria Monet, Lucky Day, just to name a few, right? And so having him as the OG and as a very established name, but bringing him together with a Cruiser or Isaiah Falls out of Florida, that's like the specialty of Soulection, is we're bringing people that maybe wouldn't have, recorded together at this very moment. So we're bringing like classic with the new, and that's what this is about.
I love this, man. This is Joe Kay, man. Get us through the round of applause. Tracy, I know you've been to one of these parties, right?
Oh,
Tracy's
man.
in New York, by the way.
What's up, Joe?
What's up, Tracy?
So good
How
to
are you?
have you on the show, bro. Like,
Yeah.
Soulection has been such a part of my life for so many years. Like, me and my friends, it's crazy that I get to hear the origin side of it too.
Yo,
because
right? I'm bugging.
it's insane, especially when you think about, like, Joe, you and the team have been able to build a community that spans continents. And yet you're able to also still feel like a very intimate space. And it makes me wonder, with growing Soulection, what have you learned about human connection that maybe surprised you or like widened your lens?
That's a great question. So, one, language doesn't matter. I was even just in the back talking about Ashake, right? A lot of us listen to the Wiz Kids, the Ashakes, the Bad Bunnies, right? And whether you speak the native tongue or not, or right, we listen to I'm a Piano. I don't understand what most of them are saying, right? But it's a feeling, it's an energy, right? Right now, Brazilian, ballet funk, Brazilian funk is super huge, especially with the youth, the dances, the beats. We don't know what they're saying. They're actually saying some really raw things, but we just move to the beats and the vocal pitch and the tone. So that's what I've learned, is that music is healing. Music connects all, and that's always been the ethos of what we do. So music brought me here today. Music has taken me around the world and back. It's filled up my passports. I've met so many great people that are part of my team and a part of my community. And, it's not even about where we come from. our color, anything about that. It's really about the music. So that's why when you speak about when you walk into a Soulection party, it does feel like a utopia or almost like a members only club.
Yeah.
It's like everybody dresses a certain type of way, has style, they're respectful. If you bump into someone, people are saying sorry. You know what I mean? If someone bumps into you, you're saying sorry to them, like, oh, my bad. It's the type of community it is, right? And most importantly, the music. So it's a place where I could hit play on unreleased music or some crazy sample in the middle of the show and people are having a moment. It's not about trying to turn it up all day, and it's not that kind of environment. It's about it's for people. We listen to a lot of the music we love in the car, at home, in the kitchen, privately, but this is a shared space where we're all able to hear these things, all tempos, and it's a place where you're hitting and hearing all your favorite sounds into one place, right? And I think that's what's made it special, is that you might be rocking to some new South African music, but you're like, damn, I got to go over there to hear it, or I might hear a couple tracks here, but Soulection will actually play it, and you're seeing how people move to it, you know what I mean? And it's a different feeling going from your headphones to like real life.
It's like a multi-sensory experience. That's what makes it very, very different. With the emphasis that you put on the music and the art, I'm wondering now, Joe, are you able to separate art from artistry from artists? Like, if a particular individual is caught up in some type of controversial news story, accusation, would you pause on playing their music in a Soulection mix or party?
Yeah, without saying I think we know who's in the spotlight right now, but I think there's levels to it, right? Some things are subjective and, until things are proven, but certain things, there's just been too many outbursts or too much information that's out there in the public that I think for me personally, I can't speak for others, but I can speak for myself. For certain artists, if they are in a certain position where I'm like, I don't resonate with the energy that I'm hearing or that's being put out, I'm gonna hold back. You know what I mean? And time does heal, but we don't forget. You know what I mean? Some people do, but I don't. And so I always try to be very cognitive of that. Especially when it comes to women and when it comes to just humans in general, but especially with the women, like, you gotta protect the queens. And so I always try to just look out for the youth and the queens, and always just try to, be aware. You gotta have a temperature check, you know what I mean, and just kind of know what's going on. It is about the music, but you kind of have you can separate it, but at the end of the day, it is connected to our legacy and our personal side. So that's just the world we live in, and so that's I try to, if someone's spazzing out or saying some disrespectful things, it's not truly a representation of like what Soulection is. So I could hold off, and there's always going to be another DJ or someone on socials that will play that music anyway. So I think people.
I like that, man. That man got integrity.
Yes,
Give that man a round of applause. Hey, man, you screwing up outside. You ain't gonna mess up the vibe inside. And that's a great stance to take. Can you talk about, what I like to see now is DJs and coalitions on YouTube and just spinning and having these parties, and you sit up and watch, you realize I'm watching for hours, dudes just DJing, and I come from some of the most amazing DJs legacies of all time. You mentioned the Beat Junkies, the Scratch Pickles, King Tech, DJ Revolution, all of these folks. DJing is the cornerstone of it all, man. Can you talk about how YouTube has brought a whole nother level of exposure to DJs?
Yeah, we're in the age of information and the age of content, right? And I feel like in the last 5 years, since COVID, we have been able to see just a lot of people rise and bring the studio to their homes. Now you're seeing a DJ set in a cafe, you're seeing it in a pizza parlor, you're seeing it in someone's apartment, right? And so, I think it's enabled and brought more of this music forward, right? And people are essentially creating their own boiler rooms now as well, right? You don't have to wait for a boiler room to put you on. You can create your own party in your own community, bring people around you, build a 360 stage, have everyone around, multiple cameras set up, right? Have everyone dressed in a color palette, and that's the vibe now, you know what I mean? And I think it's important for people to see that, because again, we grew up, if we were doing this 10, 15 years ago, I mean, shoot, Soulection would be even bigger because for so long it's just been audio only, right? And the same thing goes for you, right? Now it's like the interviews and the podcast, it helps visually bring things to light. You can see people's, their tone. You can hear their tone. You can see their reaction, feel their body language, and you can see how people move to the music. Is some of it performative? Yes, because there's pros to this new age of everyone DJing and the accessibility of it, and it has become a bit saturated. So I did want to also talk about that.
Okay.
There's a lot of great things, but there's also a lot of people just kind of doing things for viral moments, and that's what I don't like. The ethos of it is like people just want to be seen. People also copying. Like if we want to talk about color palettes, when you see people dressed in like the
same color palettes, yeah.
That started from Apartment Life. Apartment Life is out in the UK and out in south of London.
They were the first to that.
Yeah, they were the first. If you've seen them, they're the ones that wear the beige.
Yeah, the beige. It looks amazing. It looks beautiful.
Beige and brown, and that was them. Now you see a lot of copycats, and I don't like that because it's not original. You know what I mean? It's not that they own the color or the concept, but they were the first ones to do it. So just come up with something else. Be a little bit more original. So I see a lot of people copying that, and some people even getting bigger because people don't know where it started from, But it's just the name of the game, what I mean?
That's what happens.
It's the name of the game. But at the end of the day, what I will say is the music is traveling. So a lot of the music that people are playing, blend and edit culture is super big. It's always been big, but it's bigger than ever because of Serato stems. Serato has enabled the track separation, right? You can separate the vocals, the instrumental, the acapella, and all that stuff, and that has enabled everyone to have access to doing live mixing and having fun with it. So there is a lot of great things that we see, and then there's also a lot of it going on. So you have to kind of do a lot to stand out. And nowadays you have to be the promoter. Yep. You have to be the designer. You have to be social media specialist. You got to be your own PR. You know what I mean? You got to be your own everything.
It's autonomous. Yeah. Shout out to Apartment Life.
Yeah.
Right?
Shout out.
Man, I've always wanted to put those colors on and just be in one of those parties, man. Can you talk to somebody for me, bro?
We're gonna bring. We've been talking about bringing it out here, like to be a collaboration between Soulection and Apartment Life, and I will make sure you're invited.
Yo, tell him I got a hat ready for him, man.
You know what?
You stupid.
The
whole rainbow.
The Slow It Down video, I want to talk about that, but first, you just made me think. Have you ever battled? Like, you ever been in a
MC thing?
No, DJ.
Oh, DJ.
Sound
no, because the way I DJ, I'm not even a scratcher. I'm more about the mixes and the blends. Okay. That's always been me. It's kind of like rapping, right? You kind of know, not that you can't learn how to scratch, but every time I've scratched, it just wasn't a natural with my flares and the way I hit the fader. I've always just been like, what, I'm gonna perfect the blend. And so I always knew. I'm not saying people can definitely learn it, especially with the Beat Junkie School. You can go there. I could just practice every day. So, but the people that I notice that have the capabilities of how they scratch, it's a God-given thing. It's all in the wrist and it's all on your fingers. It's a touch, right? It's like being able to shoot a shot and having a nice release. Some people are just blessed. Exactly.
There you go, DB. I hear you, man. Come on, man.
And so for me,
that was you, John. Oh, DB, right?
Yeah, DB.
Okay, all right.
Shout out DB. And now for me, I've always catered to blending, like bringing sounds together. That's always been my specialty. So I've always just stood in my lane. And so no, I haven't competed like in a DMC battle or things like that. But especially after seeing some of the GOATs to do it, it's like, I'm not, like I said, it was radio first.
Yeah.
It was right here. This was always my calling. DJing is just another extension of what I do, but it was being on the mic. That
you
was
sound great. You got a good voice for it too, brother.
Thank you.
And I will listen to your podcast as well. So I'm really a big fan. DB, as a DJ, you got a question? DB is in New York. He mixes live, 2 mixes every day. Nobody in the world is doing that right now.
Respect.
Live. Go ahead, DB.
Yeah, what's up, Joe? So my question is, because if you watch, like, I don't know if people are familiar with the Boiler Room parties, And if you watch the Boiler Room sets, they pretty much let people just walk up behind the DJs and just be a part of that performance, whether they're on stage or whether they're in front of the guy or girl or whoever's playing, and enjoying the set. Was there any components of Soulection that maybe you thought of when you were brainstorming ideas of like what you wanted it to be in terms of, do we want people on stage or do we want the people performing or playing music to be by themselves? Like, was there anything that didn't make it into the final, I guess, like aesthetic of Soulection?
That's a great question. I would say everything that you see now is a true representation. So I would say even the 360 stage and things that we do, me putting the DJ booth and on the floor, that's very intentional to what we do because we need to feel the energy. Like personally, I dislike being on a stage and being so far from, because it's not like I'm rapping or singing, right? It's a bit different. So when we're on the floor as a DJ, I feel more connected to the people. It's all about energy. If the booth monitor, meaning like the sound in the DJ booth, isn't loud enough as well, I can't feel the music. So I need to be able to feel the music. So the level of the sound, having the right people around me, right, and having the right people being able to see, I think impacts the energy of the show. Otherwise, if people are stiff, my biggest pet peeve is when people are along the barricades on the rails,
just sitting,
and they're just like staring on their phone. It could come off very disrespectful, or it does mess with our. I don't know if you relate to this, but as a DJ, even if it don't matter how many people are moving, but if those first like 3 to 5 people in the front or one person is just like this and they're just staring, no matter what you do, it does kind of mess with your energy a bit, And so, at least us being on the floor and creating that in kind of environment and having people around us along with the visuals and the lighting, that has always been the basis of like an experiential side. On the flip, outside of live shows, I think the radio show has been the biggest backbone in terms of the design of the art cover. Before you listen, it's like a great photo, whether from traveling or from wherever we are in the world. And the sound, the intro. So a lot of people don't know Omarion is the intro to Soulection Radio.
Oh, that's
his voice. The Future Beats Eclectic. So that's Omarion. And that's again, early props to him being very early on the sound and supporting it since like 2014, 2015. And he's still been 10 years strong. Now, I went to go DJ his 40th recently.
Oh,
and
turned 40?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, my.
It don't even make sense.
Wow.
Life, right?
Wow.
My little brother, man. How he catch up with me on the age, Heather?
Because he
Shut
didn't.
Up,
That's your math, that Oakland math.
Don't embarrass me in front of Joe, Heather, please.
And the reason I'm bringing all this up is because like his kids were there and they listened to the show. And so by design, in terms of when we were creating this, it was always just meant to bring different age groups. And that's what the beautiful thing about it. So it's not even just on the production level or ambiance thing. It's about like bringing all the ages, right? Because now it's like, especially right now, we might play the Sade edit, but it's mixed over a Kendrick flip, right? So you have all the young cats, and all the younger generation, but you have our parents and our age and older vibing to, to a classic Sade record, but then it's thrown over like a reggae element or dub from Jamaica, and then it has like a Cleo Soul element to it, or it might have whoever, right? And so I think that's the beauty of it, is that there's really no, like my daughter, she's 12 now. You know what I mean? She's on to so many different sounds, but there's different music that we play that can connect, right? All the ages. And I think that was the biggest part, because most people, we have our major demographics of like, as we get older, our audience gets older.
Yeah.
But it's important to also keep in touch with the youth, as well as with the classic and the grown, right? And so bringing that together, I think, is my biggest mission, to where there is no age on the music. That's why we say timeless a lot, because the music is timeless, and so is the age of people that listen. It's a very huge range, you know what I mean? And that's like the biggest key into the ethos of Soulection starting.
And that speaks to Tracy's question about the human experience through what Soulection does, which is pretty incredible. Give it a round of applause. We played the song Slow It Down, which has a pretty cool-ass black and white shot video, right? And that was done intentionally, correct?
Yeah. We wanted to make it simple.
Yeah.
Obviously, too, just for people to know, like, this project, we talked about independence. This is 100% backed by me. All the money I work for and hustle for, I'm putting my own money to behind this project. There's no major label, there's no major distribution behind this. It's just myself and my team. Shout out Culture as well. And Culture is also a part of the development of me coming out as an artist. You know what I mean? 'Cause I've been dimming my light for so long and putting so many people before me.
Yeah.
And this is a moment where now I'm like, I'm coming forward. So the single is like a testament to that. Like, I don't need, because I've been on the end. Literally 2 years ago, I watched an artist come in. We released a record, an EP with this artist through Soulection Records, and he was very adamant about this music video concept. It cost about 25 to 30K to do, and you know that project is still trying to recoup.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so I learned from
Wow.
all trials and errors within my own business, and just the day and age, we have a supercomputer in our pockets. You know what I mean, which is an iPhone or an Android. You don't need much. You know what I mean. The tech is so like accessible now. All you need is a moment. All you need is 8 seconds to 12 seconds to change your life, right?
Yeah.
And so with short form content, reels, and since that has been enabled, it's changed everything. And so all you really need to do is shoot a couple take visualizer, have everyone do their verse, and then you chop up, a 2-3 minute, visual into 5 to 8 pieces, and then all of a sudden that's all you need, right? And as things track, then we can put money into, radio, or we can put it into ads and see if something really deserves a music video, if it really pops off. But I'm not gonna spend my money on one visual and then run out of my whole budget. You know, we have our publicist here, like. You know what I mean?
Shout her out.
Shout out Tay. Shout out Metro.
Metro,
yeah.
Come on.
And everything here matters. So we might be economical here, but we're using that funding to make the project complete, because it really takes a village. Like, it really takes a team to make this project or any artist pop off. You know what I mean? Outside of the blessings of the people choosing what goes up on the TikToks and IG and the sounds, that's a blessing. But beyond that, I think my biggest mission is, like, how can we promote past the first week or second week? Because we see so many artists burn out after 1 week.
1 week.
Yeah. People post artwork and some lookbook photos, press, maybe a music video, and then it's raps. And that's why I really admire the Tyler, the creators, right? Because he's very adamant about
Shout out to Tyler, man.
about promoting past that first, promoting for 12 months out. You see Tyler, I love Tyler because it's bigger than just the music as well. It's like, she's so in your face. She's great to look at. She dances, and she's constantly adding that song to her sounds and to her reels and just her day to day, and it makes you feel like she's putting out new music all the time in different ways. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of things for people to take note of, right? And there's a lot of other artists as well, but those are like two people where you can't be afraid to promote your music. You know what I mean?
Right.
What's the point of putting all this time and energy into your music and you're only pushing it and
Like
you're
a
embarrassed?
week.
Yeah.
That's
It
so
don't make
true.
sense.
Can you then speak really quickly to some of our citizens who are listening to the show, because they call up all the time and they ask for advice, and especially DJs and artists. And I heard you mention like a YouTube channel, but it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, just say they're a DJ kid sitting in a room trying to get known, get popular, blow up. They can't start a YouTube DJ channel on YouTube, because don't you get flagged and there's music and they can't put mixes up, right? How does that work?
Actually, they because of, even from Twitch, right? Like, because it's such a big thing, they have become, the labels have finally caught up. They see all the opportunity and exposure, because at the end of the day, the DJs are making this music pop off.
Period.
So it's hard to tell, but there are certain legacy artists that are just like any certain artist. I can't really speak on who exactly, but from experience, there are certain artists that are very well known that you'll get flagged for, but a majority of the music now, the only difference is you can't monetize it.
Yeah.
So you know how, like, you can run ads on your channel, that's how you make money. So when we do these DJ sets, this goes for everyone in the game. You can't monetize it unless I'm like DJing the best of Soulection and it's my catalog.
Yeah.
That's different. because we
Your
own our
production,
music,
yeah,
right?
right.
But if you're just playing other people's music, you can do it, but the labels and the distros and the publishing, they're gonna collect on the music. So if that makes sense. So in other words, you can play all the artists, but you just can't monetize it. And then they're just gonna be on the back end. They're gonna notify you like, hey, this label or distro is collecting on this, but you're allowed to have this up. So the DJ sets on YouTube and stuff are more about promoting that DJ and trying to build a following of like, hey, tap into my channel because I'm playing this style of music, or I built like this really nice aesthetically pleasing place and environment. And it's like when people put on those lo-fi channels before they go to sleep, or put on the sounds of white noise or rain, it ain't no different, right? People just want to build that kind of that vibe. And yeah, so nowadays they finally are enabling and allowing it, because before you were getting blocked and
people were calling about that.
Remember
They were
that?
asking questions about it. Yeah.
We would get blocked a lot when we have dudes come up here and freestyle and
Over
we use
beats.
other people beats. That would happen. And I want to say congratulations to you, man.
For sure.
You should do speaking engagements if you're not doing it already.
For
Get
real.
that tour going, Tay. Let's do that. You're amazing to listen to, bro. And your depth of knowledge is. A lot of folks talk a lot. These microphones got a lot of people speaking strong and long about
And wrong.
Don't
forget to add the wrong, my
But
G.
You're an educator, and I'm so happy that Soulection. You guys got a clothing line too, right? Or
yeah, I mean, shoot, you see, I got
and,
this,
and they put
this
an S for
varsity line.
sway on their varsity jacket.
I love that
thank
they
you,
did that.
brother.
Wow.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. Good. When I'm gonna get mine, though, man.
I got you.
You got me.
Now that we'll definitely drop off a package for you.
Okay.
And for the squad.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
the last thing
you.
I'll say about that is Soulection is just like it's not just music. It's the way you move. It's the way you feel. So it's also like, shoot, the furniture in my place, you know what I mean? The design, like I need to feel good. I need to wake up and feel inspired, you know what I mean? And as much as I love what I do, we all have our days where it's like, man, why am I doing this?
Right.
And so sometimes I need to be reminded by looking at the wall, like some art piece, or looking at this chair designed in the 70s, you know what I mean? Or looking at this light from the 60s. Those kind of things inspire me, because like, how is this designed and still feels right 50 plus years later, right? And it's the same thing with music. So it's not just putting out music. We pretty much are like a creative agency, you know what I mean? We run our own. Like I got our design team, our shooters. We also have a lot of women part of our team. That's one thing I want people to know. There's a lot of women behind Soulection, that from our graphic designer that makes all of our flyers. He's out in Australia. Is a woman. You know what I mean? Our A&R, our lead A&R is a woman. You know what I mean? And so one of our management team, we got a lot of women a part of it, and I love that. You know what I mean? It's important to have great balance and have women. The women really bring a lot of great energy to the workspace and also to ideation, and y'all are so organized. So I feel like that's a big part of why Soulection is what it is, because we have that feminine energy, and it keeps the men in a great balanced place. You know what I mean? And so that's really the core of why we're so fly. You know what I mean?
Man,
the clothing and everything.
Tremendously fly. Everything y'all do, man, is amazing to me.
Okay.
I definitely want that varsity jacket. Congratulations to you. I can't wait to see you on tour. I don't know when that is.
Oh, that's coming up. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
End of April.
Okay.
Like the 25th or so, and then I'm intentionally doing the B and C markets, and what I mean by that is just smaller cities that I've never been to. Wanted to start off smaller, and then in the fall we go with all the heavy hitter cities in the States and then in Europe. And so, yeah, like Charlotte is the first city on this tour. It's 11 cities. It's already sold out.
Okay.
You know,
Congratulations.
and I've never been there. Thank you. And I didn't even know they were
Queen
tapped
City.
in like that.
Yeah.
My first time, so I'm blessed that the music and Soulection is taking me there, and it might be a city that I need to make part of the main cities,
Absolutely.
right?
Beautiful
And then going
city.
to places like Tampa and Orlando, I've surprisingly never been. So the Soulection and this EP is taking me there to present, and I couldn't be. I'm going to Minneapolis. I've never been there.
They
gonna be
got a
fun.
scene in Minneapolis,
And,
bro.
and
They got a
Charlotte
huge-
too. You're gonna have a great time, bro.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So now, thank you for bringing that up.
Absolutely, man. If not now,
Man,
Then win.
Then win.
Yep.
Man, that's out April 4th, man. I guarantee you're going to enjoy this one, citizens. Make sure you pick it up. Joe Kay, congratulations to you.
Yes.
We played that Slow It Down, beautiful video. We're going to play, what you want to play next, DB? Is it all right?
Let's go with Hesitation.
Is that okay?
Yeah, Hesitation. This record is special. This is Malik and Budgie on the production, and then this artist from the Bay named Kari.
Okay.
Young cat. I believe he just turned 21, 22.
What up, Kari?
Yeah,
Yee!
Kari. Yeah. It's spelled Kari. And this is like the most Soulection coded record on here, I think, where it just has like that R&B feel, but it has a nice little like switch up. People like Kaytranada has this like nice little up tempo breakdown. It's a good balance of a track. So yeah, we can get into that Hesitation.
I want to thank you for coming by, brother.
For sure.
Okay.
Such
you
a
know
treat.
that we got to come, man. Man, you got to come do a set, bro.
Oh, I will next
You
time.
do that?
Hell
next
yeah.
time? Okay, man. All right.
I have to leave here and go record the radio show, so I was like, let me focus on talking today, and then we
That's
come
fine.
back.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful, brother. I wanted to hear from you anyway, okay?
Yeah.
Give it up for Joe Kay from Soulection.
Yeah, that
This
was
is
dope.
amazing.